Throughout the 1980s and 90s, Gary Ridgway, later known as the Green River Killer, roamed Washington state, targeting vulnerable women and taking their lives. His reign of fear continued until authorities finally arrested him in 2001. Friend, before we go any further, I would like to humbly request you please subscribe to my channel, so I can reach 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Your support truly means the world to me, so please subscribe. Hello viewers, in today's video, we're going to explore the chilling story of the Green River Killer and how he terrorized Washington for decades. Without further delay, let's begin unraveling this disturbing story. From 1982 to 1998, Gary Ridgway spread fear across Washington state as the Green River Killer. He took the lives of at least 49 women, though some believe the real number could be as high as 71. If true, that would make him one of the most active and ruthless serial killers in American history. Gary Ridgway's story is deeply unsettling. He once bragged about how easily he could choke his victims and even admitted that it was simpler for him to return to his victims' bodies than to find new victims. His cold and calculated actions made him one of the most frightening killers in history. While the Green River Killer isn't as widely known as someone like Ted Bundy, he took many more lives than Bundy ever did. In fact, after Bundy was caught in the mid-1980s, investigators even turned to him for help in finding Ridgway, who was still free at the time. In a move that felt like something from The Silence of the Lambs, investigators turned to Ted Bundy for help. Using his insights into the mind of a serial killer and his knowledge of Washington state, they worked to build a profile of the Green River Killer. This is the true story of Gary Ridgway, the man behind the Green River murders. Gary Ridgway was born on February 18, 1949, in Salt Lake City, Utah, and from the outside. His childhood seemed ordinary, but when he was just 16, he shocked everyone by attacking a 6-year-old boy simply because he was curious about what it would feel like to do it. Later, Ridgway shared with a psychologist that he felt confused by his feelings toward his mother, which led him to think about hurting her. He also admitted that he wet the bed into his teenage years and remembered his mother cleaning him afterward, something that stuck in his mind for years. Some experts believe that Ridgway's troubled feelings toward his mother were part of a bigger pattern of unhealthy family dynamics. While he never harmed his mother, some think that his later crimes were his way of acting out these hidden feelings, as if he was harming her over and over again through his actions. Even though Ridgway attacked the young boy, he was never arrested. After that incident, he seemed like any other teenager on the outside, but inside, he started following women in his neighborhood who had turned him down, quietly building the dark patterns that would later define his life. Gary Ridgway finished high school at 20 and then served in the U.S. Navy for 2 years, including time in Vietnam. While there, he often visited prostitutes and caught a sexually transmitted disease for the second time, something that reportedly made him furious. After leaving the military, Ridgway moved to the Seattle area. He had married Claudia Barrows before his deployment, but they divorced when he learned she had been unfaithful while he was away. In Seattle, Ridgway worked as a truck painter for nearly 30 years. He married twice more, first to Marcia Winslow in 1973, with whom he had a son, and later to Judith Mawson in 1988. During his marriage to Marcia Winslow, Ridgway became deeply religious, even going door to door to read the Bible to neighbors. Winslow said this sudden change surprised her, and it became harder when Ridgway pressured her to strictly follow their pastor's teachings. However, Winslow shared that the hardest part of their marriage wasn't Ridgway's religious zeal or his constant demands for sex, but rather the influence his mother had on their relationship. According to Marcia, Ridgway's mother controlled many parts of their marriage, even managing their finances. After 8 years, the couple divorced. Despite having a family and turning to religion, Ridgway began having run-ins with the law in Seattle, including arrests for allegedly choking a sex worker and for solicitation. As time passed, Ridgway's crimes became more serious. It's believed that he began killing in 1982, starting with a 16-year-old girl who had run away from her foster home. This marked the beginning of a nearly 20-year killing spree that would take the lives of dozens of women. Gary Ridgway often targeted runaways and sex workers, picking them up at truck stops and bars along Highway 99 near Seattle. To gain their trust, he would sometimes show them pictures of his son before having sex with them and then strangling them, often during the act. He then left their bodies in wooded areas near the Green River, which led to his nickname, the Green River Killer. Ridgway also left gum and cigarette butts at the scenes to mislead investigators, since he didn't smoke or chew gum himself. Ridgway later admitted that he sometimes took his wives to the areas where he had left his victims' bodies, using the spots for picnics and outdoor sex. He would sometimes leave a body in one location for a while before moving it elsewhere. To confuse investigators, at least 2 victims were taken as far as Portland before being left. Even though Ridgway tried to hide what he was doing, he still caught the attention of local police because of his past run-ins with the law. In the early 1980s, officers questioned him after a sex worker claimed he had choked her during sex near the SeaTac airport, close to where some victims were later found. Police also caught Ridgway with a sex worker named Kelly McGinnis, who would later become one of his victims. Because of these incidents, police considered Ridgway a suspect and had him take a polygraph test, which he passed. With no solid evidence linking him to the murders, investigators turned their attention to other suspects, and Ridgway paused his killing spree for a while due to the pressure. But this didn't stop him for good, even though he seemed to find happiness in his marriage to Judith Mawson. Ridgway eventually went back to his deadly pattern by the end of his rampage. The Green River Killer had taken the lives of at least 49 women, though he would later admit 2 killing, 71 in total. This made Gary Ridgway one of the most prolific serial killers in history. In his own chilling words, Ridgway once said, "I killed so many women, I have a hard time keeping them straight." When the bodies first began to surface, the King County Sheriff's Office created the Green River Task Force to hunt down the person responsible. Surprisingly, help came from an unexpected source. 2 key members of the task force, Robert Keppel and Dave Reichert, regularly consulted with psychologists and criminologists seeking to understand what was driving the killer's actions and patterns. In 1984, their search for answers took a surprising turn when they heard from Ted Bundy himself. According to Robert Keppel, Bundy volunteered to help with the investigation while sitting on death row in Florida. Keppel recalled the moment he received the unexpected offer. It was a letter from a wannabe consultant and the most unlikely person I ever expected to be of assistance in the Green River murders. The letter came from a cell on death row in Florida. The sender was Theodore Robert Bundy. I was stunned. By then, Ted Bundy had already spent years in prison for murder and other crimes, and he was waiting for his execution, which would happen in 1989. Despite his horrific actions, Bundy's first-hand experience with similar crimes made him a surprising asset in the Green River case. He became a regular source for Keppel and Reichert, sharing his uncensored views on the mindset of the Green River Killer and helping them understand the motives and behaviors of the man they were still trying to catch. According to Reichert, Ted Bundy and Gary Ridgway shared a similar mindset. First off, there's no remorse. They don't have any feelings toward anyone, even their own families, he said, noting that it was the same coldness he saw in both men. In an interview with the New York Times, Reichert explained that, like Bundy, Ridgway craved control and attention and took pride in his crimes. When detectives tried to link Ridgway to an unsolved murder, he told them, "Why would I take credit if it isn't mine? I have pride in what I do. I don't want to take it from anybody else." During one interview, Bundy suggested that the Green River Killer was probably going back to his dump sites to have sexual contact with the victims after they were dead. He advised investigators that if they found a fresh grave, they should watch it closely and wait for the killer to return. Bundy's theory turned out to be right, and it helped police collect evidence to support an arrest. Still, it wasn't until 2001 that police were finally able to arrest Gary Ridgway. In 2001, police arrested Gary Ridgway on suspicion of killing for women, and DNA evidence soon linked him to their murders. Forensic testing also found the same spray paint Ridgway used at work at other crime scenes, adding more victims to the list of charges against him. Ridgway's wife, Judith Mawson, had no idea about his double life as the Green River Killer, and she was completely shocked when she learned about his long history of murder and assault. Judith Mawson once described Gary Ridgway as the perfect husband who treated her like a newlywed even after 17 years together. But behind that image, Ridgway later admitted that he had thought about killing her too, only stopping, because he didn't want to get caught. He claimed that he truly loved Judith, and after they married, his murder slowed down. After learning the truth and filing for divorce, Judith later shared that she felt she may have saved lives simply by being his wife and keeping him happy. By the time Gary Ridgway went to trial, he was facing 48 murder charges to avoid the death penalty. Ridgway agreed to help authorities locate the remains of his victims. In return, he received 48 consecutive life sentences. On top of that, he was given an extra 10 years for each victim for tampering with evidence, adding another 480 years to his prison term. When his trial ended, Gary Ridgway had confessed to more confirmed murders than any serial killer in America at that time, even more than Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and BTK combined. Ridgway himself admitted that killing young women felt like his real career. And even though he's behind bars for the rest of his life, Ridgway's crimes still haunt the police and the families of his victims. In 2011, investigators found a 49th victim linked to Gary Ridgway, adding yet another life sentence to his time in prison. More than a decade later, in late 2023 and early 2024, authorities finally identified two more of his victims as 15-year-old Lori Ann Ratspotnick and 16-year-old Tammy Lyles. Ridgway's dark legacy has even seeped into popular culture, with references in books like Twilight and Jodi Picoult's House Rules. While Samuel Little has since taken the title of America's most prolific serial killer, with up to 93 victims, Gary Ridgway remains one of the most notorious murderers in modern American history. Unlike many infamous killers, Ridgway is still alive today, serving out his life sentences at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Washington, where he is expected to spend the rest of his life behind bars. Viewers, this was the chilling story of the Green River Killer, a case that left a lasting scar on Washington and beyond. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into true crime's darkest corners. What are your thoughts on this chilling story? Share your opinions in the comments below. We'd love to know how you feel about these shocking events. Thank you for watching. If this chilling story gripped you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories that peel back the darkest layers of history. And remember, if you or someone you know is struggling with heavy thoughts, please reach out to a mental health professional. Your life and well-being are far more important than any story we cover here. Take care of yourself, and until next time, I'll see you in another haunting case that demands to be remembered.